earlier today.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get our meeting started this evening. August 7th, meeting of the Rochester Board of Education is hereby called to order. Please call the roll, Carrie.
Dr. Mabuenas?
Yes, here.
Mrs. Reynolds?
Here?
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Carly?
Yes.
Mr. Childs?
Here.
Mr. Hannah? Mr.
Here.
Jewell?
Here. Good news, there's sound on the broadcast.
That sounds like it. Okay, so for visitors who wish to, first of all, thank you. Good to see our visitors here this evening as always. And for visitors who wanted to address the board, I just have Kevin Clem. Is that correct? All right, thanks, Kevin. Come on up.
Good evening. For those present who don't know me, my name is Kevin Clem, and I'm a social studies teacher at RHS and proudly serve as co-president of the Rochester Education Association. I'm here tonight as we begin another school year next week. There is the usual excitement in our buildings as we prepare to welcome our students back. There's also excitement as we look to bargain a new contract during this upcoming school year. As you are aware, through your work along with Mr. Cox and Dr. Kaler, we were able to amend our rates for this school year from 3.5% to 5%. This allowed us to be competitive when recruiting new hires, along with rewarding our hardworking staff during a difficult time of high inflation in the country. We appreciate your willingness to work with us to make that happen. With this year being the final year in our current contract, along with the impending negotiations that will hopefully begin in early 2025, we want you to continue to keep in mind what we as a staff do on a daily basis to advance the education and social emotional growth of our students. As I'm sure you are all aware, working in education is not easy. Bureaucratic and societal pressures have strained educators across this country, yet we persevere together and do amazing things for our kids. You are invited to come into our buildings and our classrooms during this school year to see the great things that we are doing. We would love to have you. We hope this will be another successful year as we work together to make Rochester the best place in the area to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clem. Okay, Dr. Kaler, please present to the Board of Education the financial reports, investment reports, and year-to-date fund summary.
The investment report is in your packet, and it is the same format as the previous. If you look at the cash flow analysis, looks different than. Sorry. The cash flow analysis does look different. It's a different format. It's one that will provide you the information so you can track how we've done month over month all year, as well as what our balances are throughout the entire school year. If you have questions on that, let me know. Otherwise, the reports are in your packet.
Hold on just a second. I'm going to do something a little bit different. And we've been trying this for a couple meetings, but I just want to make sure we get back to Robert's Rules of Order, just because it's something to follow. And we've just gotten a little bit lax with it. So just to make sure, I'll ask if there's a motion, and then we'll jump into discussion. And then I'll ask if there's a second motion for a vote. So, and we've just kind of been doing the discussion and then the first and second vote backwards for just a few months. So we're going to go back.
Actually, we had a parliamentarian Friday night at the resolution shares meeting, and she insists that how we were doing it was right.
Was right?
Which I always understood that you're right, that we had to have a motion first, but she says, no, you call it informal discussion and you do it before the motion.
I'm going to go with what I've written for tonight.
I don't blame you, but just, yeah.
You can do it one more time.
Yeah.
Just gonna ask one more question, somebody. Okay, so is there a motion to approve the bills as presented? Now, is there any discussion for the board?
I have one question. Oh, I think you did too.
Go ahead,
Yeah, you can go first.
Just because the error mark is in the bills, the payment of that. The quick question was a couple of meetings ago, we had a parent that shared that their diabetic child, after eating lunches, the nutritional information is not accurate and he has to adjust his dosing outside of it. This may not be the place to ask it, but the question is, have we checked with them so that this year the kids can rely on it as being accurate?
So one of the things, I can answer that question in part, but not in full, so I'll have to come back to you on that. One of the discussions that we had with Airmark last year and was, and I think I mentioned it at that board meeting that same night to make sure that the individual heard that, was the Slice piece. The name is escaping me. NutriSlice is a system that some of our some food contractors use to show the nutritional value, show the allergens, all of those type of things. Aramark has not used those. That's something we have requested before, but as a company, they didn't use it. They do have it now, and it's supposed to be transitioning in place. I just don't know when that's coming into play, but when we renewed the first food service bid, that was part of the discussion, so I can find out when that is. I would hope it's this school year because that was a discussion that we had well into last spring. So, but I would need to verify that.
And if it is, I think the parents of those students would appreciate
What
hearing
we can
that.
do on
Yeah.
that too, when we do our menu, in my previous experience, we had NutriSlice, and it's right there on your menu. It's within your apps too, and then we can do some communications and marketing around that too, because it was really well received.
Thank you.
Amy?
Okay. I apologize because usually I email you and you let you know I'm gonna ask a question, and I neglected to do that this time. It's on me. But it's more of a request. So we have this new that we just agreed upon last year, the credit card. I noticed on the bills, it just says credit card bill and then the staff member that used it. I was wondering if we could put something, just a keyword said they had, conference and so, or just something, a couple words to tell us the purpose of why it was used, rather than just credit card payment for that staff member.
I'll make note, I can't go off the top of my head of what's on there for tonight, but I'll make notes to make sure that we get more information on that. And if we have those ledgers that do all the code, that we do all the coding and track that stuff. We just simply don't put all that in the Skywords, process that out.
Yeah, and of course, that's all I see, so I appreciate it, and like I said, I'm sorry I didn't email you, usually I do, but
Any other questions? All right, if there's no further discussion, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hannah,
Yes.
Dr. Magoulias,
Yes.
Mrs. Reynolds.
yes.
Mrs. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Childs,
Yes.
Mr. Jewell,
Yes.
Mr. Carly.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we have administrator reports next, and we're going to start with our junior high because Mrs. Poole and Mr. Lauber recently attended the National Association of Elementary Principals conference this summer, and they were invited to present their work with Leader in Me and Student Voice. They invited teacher Danica Luttrell to co-present, as she is a teacher leader on the Leader in Me Lighthouse team. And it was a great opportunity for them and outstanding representation of our district on a national stage. So thank you so much for doing it. And we've asked them if they would give, I don't know if this is abbreviated or your full presentation.
Hold on.
I guessed it was, yeah. Yeah. 60 minutes, please pass out the popcorn and we'll all get started. That'd be great. Thank you very much.
You can have the hand-free mic, Mr. Lauber. That's kind of your style. Hand-free
Give me
mic.
the podium, I'll be all right, I don't even mind. So the number one, we went down to Nashville, it was awesome, I think there was 8,000 or 9,000 principals that came to this conference, and so we were able to go to a bunch of different, wide variety of different sessions in addition to ours, obviously. And one thing that I found out, and I think we all did, was when we watched these other schools in person, is that our kids are freaking phenomenal. And we were like, you're gonna see this and all that, what we do with our students, the leadership and the ownership that our kids take is amazing. You know, Mr. Flynn touched on a little bit about our kids, they're freaking phenomenal, we are so lucky to have them, they're awesome, and to get to see what they can do on a daily basis, and then come out and spread their wings and take those leadership opportunities. There were other schools that were like, wow, your kids actually do that, like, yeah, they take it and run with it, so our kids are awesome, our presentation was great, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Poole.
I know better than to follow him.
Yeah.
I wanted to take this moment to talk a little bit about how we got to where we are. So we didn't start with just listening to our students and putting them in charge and letting them run wild. It really started with me letting go and empowering my teachers. So I want to brag on this one a little bit. This is Danica Luttrell, and I'm going to say that wrong. Danica Luttrell. She is an ELA teacher, and when she came to the junior high, we had some very open and honest conversations about sharing her gifts. She has the most amazing classroom atmosphere I have ever seen. She has a natural talent for establishing respect and rapport with students, and it's just such a calm and welcoming environment. So I told her I didn't know what magic dust with sprinkles, but she needs to share that. We had lots of, again, honest conversation about working with adults is not in her comfort zone. So we found little ways for her to continue to push. She's now a member of our Lighthouse team, which pretty much facilitates all the things. They come to me as needed. I don't really like stand in there with them and observe everything they do. It's pretty awesome. Took a big transformation in myself, but it's been amazing. But she has done a phenomenal job to the point where she spoke with us at a national conference full of people. Not only did she do that, but she participated and brought some things back, and we have some time for you to sit down and talk about our next steps and what we're gonna implement. So I just wanted to share that with you and take a moment to brag on my staff.
I took notes, so I can. Keep reading my notes, I can't fly, but I see my same presentation. Like Mr. Lover said, that there were about like 8,000 to 9,000 principals there, and so I was one of the few teachers. So talk about being amazed, inspired, and overwhelmed, but in the best way. Some of my favorite sessions included conversations about web's depth of knowledge, professional learning committees, and how to get student buy-in. And then I also got to see Todd Whitaker and John Gordon speak in person, and that was incredible. And just a big thanks to Mrs. Poole and Mr. Lauber for giving me the opportunity to grow as an educator, a leader, and a professional.
One thing you're gonna, if you guys are bored tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, we have our rocket launch, so you'll see these kids, the 8th graders, gonna be 8th graders, are leading 7th grade groups, like, it's the leadership in motion. They trained on Monday, they're ready to go, we basically get out of the way for it, so it's pretty awesome. So if you're bored, you wanna stop by, come on by, it's a great time.
It's pretty awesome when I start the year. What we're gonna do now is show you a video. I talked to John Hanson right before we did this, and I said, I have this vision and I don't quite know how to make it come to fruition, and I have no tech skills. So what I would like to do is get different stakeholders to talk about what we do at the junior high and how what we have done has changed our climate and culture. So I set up some interviews for him. He did an amazing job and knew exactly what I was looking for even when I didn't. So this is good.
Great.
I think the first thing that comes to mind when I think about the Leader in Me program is how our students have taken responsibility for their own learning and ownership in their school. And I've also seen our teachers take ownership and pride within the school and their leading from the front.
It just sort of blossomed over the year. Reese realized like, okay, I think I've got this down now. I know what I need to do. I know how to ask questions a little bit better if I'm starting to get a little bit of support. Before, I would say it was a place where kids came to school, and now kids feel like they come to their school. And that feels so different in so many ways. They know that we're listening to them, and they know that they belong here, and they know that they are part of something that is bigger than themselves.
They're still teenagers, right? And they still do teenager things, but they're more of a community than I think when you envision a traditional junior high being. And they feel like they're part of, that community, saving less.
It just makes them sort of it makes them feel like they're a part of the school and that they have a say in what's going on. And I feel like kids really need that buy-in order to make it positive.
Before, I used to like have stage fright and be like scared to talk in front of like big groups of people. But then once I joined the Leader in Me, we did the Fun Friday, we got to organize it, and I got to talk in front of the whole school, and that helped me overcome one of my challenges.
So the superintendent, what I've seen is Mrs. Poole as our principal has empowered our assistant principal, Mr. Lauber, and our teachers to take responsibility for the school, for the student leadership within the school. She's not doing anything that the teachers couldn't do and take ownership in. She's letting them do that. She's the master facilitator. The result of that is our teachers and Mr. Lauber are doing that same thing with the students. So we're seeing a real community and ownership within our school and in the culture and environment.
Staff morale here, I would say, has also just been a really, really incredible shift because you can see it on teachers' faces. They're happy. They want to come to work. We have a person who stands with a microphone at the hallway door every Friday and just good morning. And the kids get high fives when they walk in. So you see that from every single step of the way. Every student needs to have a sense of pride and have a leadership role in the building. And when you do that, again, you're just going to see improvements in every aspect of their life. So I 100% support the program. I think it's a great opportunity for students to get involved in the school, have a voice, and really feel that they contribute to their learning and their success as well.
Doesn't always come out the way, you know, what everybody needs or wants. But when they were part of the process, you know, they took decisions and had to take adjustments to things and you know, that going through that whole process, they've just gotten more involved. And so then they're much more willing to share an opinion and like critique and, you know, like express like, I like this and I don't like this, and you should do more of this. And it's a better environment.
Me and some other classmates were planning an 8th grade cookout at our local park, but we ended up getting turned down, so we found another way to do it by doing it at our own school.
She enjoyed it here because I feel like they gave them a lot more opportunities to sort of take on that role. And she felt like she actually had a say in what was chosen for different activities.
Students were in charge of these conducts and how we wanted to. Every pep assembly was run by a different leadership group. My favorite leadership activity has 100% been Rocket Crew. It's been pretty fun meeting with a group of great people that are actually pretty fun to be around and planning activities to do during the school year.
Have your program, you spend a lot of time with them, so that's who you want to hang out with, but they don't just ignore the other groups of people, and I think that's what I see the most. I think I see the kids taking care of the other kids.
Our kids are more than a test. When I send my child to school, when our parents send their children to school, yes, we want them to learn. We want them to be able to make academic things, but more importantly, we want them to be good people. And there is no doubt in my mind that the culture, the climate, the leadership, the ownership, the learning from our mistakes that the junior high is doing, is molding our young people into better human beings and better people.
I think I showed leadership by having a positive attitude and putting others first, and then just helping them before I help myself.
One small example, some of the kids that did the Leader in Me program, I think after a junior high girls volleyball or basketball game, we had a pretty big crowd, everybody's leaving, well, a couple of the kids stuck around without being asked that we're part of the Leader in Me, and they're sleeping in the bleachers, you know, and you look up and there's 2, and then there's 3, and then there's 5, and it's all the buddies, and then that was to me kind of this is how this program's working. Somebody's taking the initiative and then other people are kind of following along. And it was just kind of awesome to see our kids doing that on their own.
She also was able to self-advocate for herself, and of anything that is so important just in life in general, that you feel this sense of, you know, taking ownership of yourself to be able to then articulate what your needs are. And so that's what I saw growth in her throughout the course of the year, just in a multitude of arenas, which, like I said, that's a life skill that you need to have for life. You know, yes, the academic performance is impressive and she did great, but then having those, you know, leadership skills to be able to articulate and support yourself, you know, that was so impressive to watch that growth and maturity.
Wow. That gave me goosebumps. So thank you to all 3 of you. Thank you for recognizing excellent teaching and lifting that, right? And spreading that throughout your building too. I was going to say that you're getting better and better.
Getting more tools and getting more video to use, and it's only gotta get better from here.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Very good, gonna have a lot of clear direction on what I was, I mean.
Yeah, and you're going to be showing that at an Opening Teacher Institute Day, right?
Yeah.
With your team or the whole district, I'm not sure, but yeah, okay, good,
Whole district, and then our team is gonna talk a little bit about things that we do
great,
in more detail.
great, thank you. Okay, so we'll shift back to elementary. We'll start with Miss Van Fossen.
Yeah, I have to do notes too. Okay, good. So we're excited for another year. Our numbers are looking amazing at my building. So I was counting, so
bear with me if I'm off a couple. Right now, we are at 145 pre-K students, with 90 of those being all day. And
Yeah, it is.
52
That's incredible.
being in our half-day program. So Mrs. Shaw has really been amazing this summer, and I get a little Hy-Vee, and she's like, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be fine. So we're really excited. 145 3 and 4-year-olds coming in the door next Wednesday. Kindergarten, we're at 108, and then first grade, we're at 152 as of yesterday.
Wow.
So we're really excited to welcome the kids back. All of our new Wonders 2024 material came in, and we got it distributed this week. And my teachers are really excited. They were all actually in there when I left to come here, going through it and opening it up. I put little bows on some of it, 'cause it's cute. And then the last thing is we're doing our popsicle party. Mr. Kreppel and I are doing it together this year. It is Friday. It is not going to be 100 degrees like last year. So come on out. It is gonna be from 3 to 5 on my playground. We got 600 popsicles. So if you wanna come hang out with some of the best kiddos in the land, 3 to 5. Mr. Kreppel and I will be cutting tops off of popsicles.
Thank you. John, just for a formatting question on our stream, do we need anybody to stand at the podium? No, that's okay. I don't know either. I'm gonna
She was
ask.
Close enough to the podium that it kicked it out, but that would, if you're gonna present
Okay.
there, yes, please stand at the podium.
All right, perfect. We're working through it.
You might have say loud enough.
And we want your shining face up there too for everyone to see on video. So, okay. So Mr. Kreppel, we want your shining face up there at the podium too.
You got it.
We're super excited for 2-3 building as well, getting things started. I'm actually really excited to get things going as well. Me and my first year over there, we've done a lot. My staff is coming back. We're loving the teachers in the building. We're getting ready for the kiddos to come. Yes, we have a popsicle party on Friday. Tomorrow, we also have our supply drop off and locker decoration for those who are bringing their students. Looking forward to seeing them. We're welcoming several new staff members. We're also getting into our Reading Wonders curriculum and our new line interactive boards. Those are all been installed. And we're starting to roll out our SOAR initiative, which is going to be safety, organized, accountable, and responsible, and respectful, sorry. And we're rolling that out on all the major campuses. So looking forward to that as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, now for the Rochester Intermediate School, drum roll. This is Ms. Amy Sutton. Introduce her to all of you. Please welcome her. She's the new assistant principal at Rochester Intermediate School. We're so happy to have you here with us. And you get to start right off the bat at your first meeting, presenting.
But I'm super excited that I get to. So yes, I'm Amy Sutton, new assistant principal at the intermediate school. As to follow these guys, we are super excited that another school year's coming. We had our signing day just on Monday, and to have the littles in the building just breathes. It makes the whole building breathe. So we're super excited about that. We're kicking off with the theme, We Rise to Lead. Rise being tied to our mission, which is responsibility, inclusion, safety, and empathy. So we are super excited about that this year. A lot of new teachers in the building. They've been working so very hard on getting everything ready. We also have new materials that have arrived and they're distributed out across the classrooms. Mr. Tolan also wanted me to make sure that we shared that he was very excited to have the ability to go to that conference in Nashville as well. Learned a lot of things. He attended sessions including leadership, building culture and climate, handling difficult situations as they arise, SEL support for students, family, and staff. Were some things he wanted to make sure were highlighted that he had the pleasure of participating in. Also wanted to share that he was he's got a new role at the IPA as the region director for the Abraham Lincoln region, and both of us are super excited about the upcoming school year, including all of our staff. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My wife coached her, by the way.
Yes.
Yes, you did. Hi, I'm Mr. Reed again. High school, so excited to get started. Just
few notes just real quick. At the end of the summer, Kate Keller, one of our former students, had her artwork at the Met, which is the Metropolitan Museum in New York City. So kudos to her. I know she's not here tonight, and Mrs. Keller, I want to give her kudos as she heads to Alabama, but congratulations to her. We have 3 new staff members. Chris Gunn's leading our band. Tomorrow night at twilight, you can come out to State Fair Parade at 5:30. They're presenting out there. So the Palms, the RHS band by Mr. Gunn, and the flags will be out there as well. So we'll go out there and see them. So they're participating tomorrow night. Very exciting time. We have new teacher orientations. Like I said, we have 3. We have Olivia Cooper, who's teaching English, Chris Gunn, who I already mentioned, and Samantha Smith, who's teaching English as well. So we're excited to have them as part of our family. Speaking of our family, it's a nice time of the year, and I like Mr. Roberts. He said freaking, so I don't have really too many freaking cool things, but the Olympics.
Yeah.
I wear my Olympic socks here because I'm very excited about the Olympics. So we're taking that theme as far as our school year to kind of encompass a good theme of with the new construction, a new beginning, and the Olympics, just kind of that vibe of coming into the school year, being excited to all be back and to get after it. Hearing the music from junior high and the high school band's been playing this week, so it's nice to hear kids in the building. Our teachers are coming in. They got new line active boards thanks to Mrs. Flynn and the district, so that's exciting for them as well. New student orientation and freshman orientation tomorrow. Mr. Hawkins has done an excellent job. He's got 50 volunteers coming, lots of clubs and sponsors to be able to do it. All the kids are gonna break up into groups and travel through a few student schedules so they get acclimated to the building, which is really cool. And I'm looking forward to this freshman group because, like I said, Mr. Lauber and Mrs. Poole have done a phenomenal job with that program. We're looking forward to those 8th graders being freshmen starting tomorrow. Like I said, the parade tomorrow night, sports begins on Monday, so that's exciting. All the practices begin on Monday. They're having all their parent meetings tonight. Golf was handing out hats, volleyball had their meeting, football's getting ready to go, so it's an exciting time.
And
for the
girls
kids
tennis.
there. Girls tennis.
Not that
all
I'm
the sports,
prejudiced.
all you got it. Boys golf, all that stuff. Girls tennis, everything else. Like I said, the construction's going on. Guys, this is exciting. And I know it takes time, and like building a house, you look forward to it, however long it takes. We are very excited at the high school to see what's going to be on, and the kids are excited about it. So there's gonna be a time where we have to look at traffic, and Mr. Hanson has helped us out as far as making that, a little less painful as the start of the school year with everything going on, but it's an exciting time. It's exciting because things are changing here in Rochester for the better. In all of my years, I have never been more excited to be part of a great team of leaders, a great district that's helped us out, and parents that are excited to send their kids off to us starting next week. And we do start Wednesday with Monday and Tuesday being Institute days. Some up and coming things, then I'll stop. Senior paint the lot. We did that last year. We're gonna do that again September 15th. So from 12:30 to 4:30, my wife and I'll be out here. We're gonna cook some hamburgers and hot dogs this year, do something different. The kids will come out and paint and have a good time. If it does rain, we'll have a rain date for that, but September 15th is that.
August?
No, we're gonna do September 15th.
September,
Yep.
okay.
August, I did want to mention, we do have our open house, August 19th, from 6 to 7 o'clock. And that'll be for families that
Mhm.
night. So important information going out today for families, thanks to Mr. Hanson and Mrs. Poole and I, and Mr. Lauber, Mr. Hawkins, and Mr. Durst for working hard to get that parking lot going so we can get traffic flowing for the start of school. It's going to be a really well-run school year. Very excited about the 24-25 school year. Thank you.
Before Jeff walks away, we're gonna help him here a little bit.
Oh.
Not only was Kate recognized, in going to the Met, she was also picked up by the news and they interviewed her and ran a story on her as well about that award. So we're really happy and excited for her and also for our arts department and this recognition that the arts department is getting for the work that they're doing with our students and helping them develop. It's really amazing.
That's wonderful. Wonderful, thank you. Okay, Mr. Cox, you have the superintendent's report specifically highlighting the beginning of this academic year as we kick off. Oh, I'm sorry, directors first.
I'll be back again.
Mrs. Shaw?
I'll be really fast. So, 2 things that I want to highlight. First of all, we had our 4th year of the summer work program that wrapped up at the end of July. We are now at the point that I think that all of the administrators are doing a little bit of friendly fighting over who gets my students. And they, even though we assigned them for certain weeks, they were trying to snag them for additional time so that they could support them in their building. So I think that they've established themselves as hard workers that can get things done. So it's kind of nice to see how that program has grown over the years. The second thing, I've been working with Cheryl to develop some more tech opportunities at the pre-K level. So we have with our grant that we received, They gave us the full year grant, even though we didn't actually get the money until November. So that allowed us to purchase a few extra items that we wouldn't normally be able to do. So one of the things we did was purchase what's called an active floor. It, let's see, basically the screen is on the floor and it can do things like there'll be bubbles and the kids jump on them and the bubbles pop, things like that. And there's all sorts of different things. There's also an interactive sandbox. As the kids play with it, there'll be like mountains and rivers. They put their hands through it and it goes changes from mountains to rivers, or there's ants climbing through grass. So excited about that. And then B-bots to help them learn to start coding. Is there anything you want to add to those? Three things?
A lot that I'm super excited that it all goes together. It all came last week.
It all came last week and we're like, oh my gosh, what a time for it to come.
So our goal is to get it up to done in the next couple of weeks so that when they're ready.
That's in the pre-K rooms.
Yes, so it'll be, well, and it'll be available for all of EC1 to use. The active floor is
Okay.
actually mobile. So it can go anywhere, and that was part of why we did that, so that way anybody would be able to utilize it. And then the interactive sandbox, it is actually housed in one of the blast off rooms, so that's what pre-K also uses for their indoor playground. But the other classrooms would be able to use it too if they want to.
I'm so excited. It just really emphasizes the role of play in early childhood education. And I'm really happy we're doing that.
One the video of Mrs. Boston popping bubbles.
I know.
It's gonna be me sitting in the sandbox.
I was gonna say, I doubt Cheryl leaves after she gets that set up. It's where her, Yeah.
Aquarium has this.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
the fact that we have it in our early childhood program is something that we're really proud of. And it just is a testament to how hard the district has worked investing into early childhood.
it's great,
It's really
wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm glad we didn't skip that.
Yeah.
Mr. Kaler, Dr. Kaler.
I just have a couple things to add. For me, Mr. Couple mentioned the Wonders curriculum, it is in. So if you see us throwing things away, the old textbooks, don't worry, it's the old stuff that we're getting rid of because we just don't have the space for it. Instruction at the high school, if you walk into where JR's office used to be, you'll see the green walls, the temp walls are already up. We did that on purpose so that this high school student would have the same path through the building from day one through the end of construction, so it's not like they're going around the building and then all of a sudden there's a temp wall and they can't get to their class anymore. We want it to look the same from the beginning of the year to the end. The refresh rooms at the EC1 came out very nice. We were able to do 4 rooms. We did 3 of the classrooms plus the speech room. And then just today, we started working on getting the windscreens up in the rack above the area. That's just basically to hide the stuff that's all stored so that you won't see that during the year. And then Adrian and Randy talked about their SOAR. Today we had our bus driver meeting and they came and presented how that is shown on the buses and how we're gonna work with the bus drivers and through that with the expectation so that everybody's working on the same vocabulary. I thought that's a great way to show the buses that how we support them, but also how they can talk the exact same way that we do in the school. So I thought that was a great way to start the year.
It really is. Thank you. One more director report, Mr. Hanson. And before you begin, maybe you're going to report on this.
Yeah.
But this is our first edition, so if you have a copy, frame it, of the of the Rocket Review. So it's a publication. It will be quarterly. Is that what the
Correct, yeah.
goal is?
This will be a quarterly presentation. I had this and it's actually a fun story. I initially said, hey, we should publish this once a year as a special edition to commemorate our students and graduation, our staff and their accomplishments, the nominees as well in here, which is a big difference. We're making sure that those nominees that we don't give awards to are also being highlighted. I said, yeah, we'll do this once a year. And then Dan saw our Mr. Cox side, he said, actually, we're gonna do this quarterly, which is fantastic, you know, so we're gonna take this is gonna become a quarterly thing where we're gonna give updates on the district. This will be available as well. The unique thing is the way that this is printed, the company that prints this, we can actually put out a link. So if we have alumni who would like one of these, they can actually purchase one, have it shipped to their home and keep up to date as well as these quarterly things start to come out here moving forward. But yeah, it's just a really fantastic thing. We're really excited to be able to highlight our staff in particular, you know, our retirees and our staff as well as our graduating class in this. in this issue right here. So that's one big thing. The summer has been full, as you've noticed, of communications. We've been working on communications when it came to going to to these presentations at national conventions. I went to a convention as well, where I was able to really learn a lot of valuable tools that I've already brought back that we're implementing and we're utilizing, and we're going to be shooting a video actually based off of something that I've learned that's going to be released to the public the end of this week. We're shooting with all of the admins tomorrow, but it just a lot moving forward. This is my first summer in education. Not how I thought it would go. I had all these plans, and suddenly all of these other plans came up, and it's been a great learning experience for me as well. But just really a lot of great things have been happening. I've been having a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. This looks terrific. This has been a long-time goal of our board and our superintendent. So thank you for bringing this to fruition for all of us and getting this started.
Picture on every page.
Yeah. It's like he's important around here or something. So, all right, well, good luck.
Got a lot of awards.
Good luck beating all those.
I
Reports,
know,
yeah.
right? These are hard acts to follow. So, you know, this meeting's going exactly as you know we had hoped. Dr. McGulis and I had talked about this. It's a little bit different format this month because we traditionally have not did at least one summer board meeting, either June or July. And as we were leading up, coming into this school year, Dr. McGulis and I talked and said, you know, as the school year approaches, when we have that August board meeting, we have so many action items and so many things to do, and we're also tired from the start of school. Could we do a meeting? It's been a long time since we've met, and have some information about what's happened over the summer, what's going on to start the school year, and then be able to get into, you know, in 2 weeks, just the action items that we have to do. And you know, I talked to the administrators. I said, hey, can you really just highlight and celebrate some of the work you've done over the summer and what we had to look forward to? And they knocked that out of the park. And it is going to be a hard act for me to follow. And, you know, just a couple of things before I get to my plan report, I do want to highlight and reemphasize. And some of the things I have to say are a repeat, but they should be because they're worth noting again and pointing out a couple of little extra things. And I'll start while it's fresh with Mr. Hansen and the Rocket Review. And you know, he said that he had thought, he figured out a way to get this done, and it was going to be a trial. And we ordered a few copies. Was it 50? We did 50 copies because we weren't sure how it was going to look. And it came out better than we had planned. And a lot of credit to Mr. Hansen and the work that he did and the collaboration of everybody that was involved with that. There was a lot of hands that did touch this, but he is right. I told him he did too good of a job, and this was not going to be an annual thing. And we've already got plans to release a quarterly, expand the number of issues and get them out. We've had a lot of requests for them, and we'd love for these to be sitting in businesses and in homes and around our community and around the Springfield area, so people could see the great things happening at Rochester schools. You know, I also, you know, if you ever want to get under an educator's skin, ask them what they do during the summertime. Everybody here is putting on a great face. They are exhausted. It's a lot of work. It's our busy season, long hours, a lot of things going because we shut down one school year, we're starting another, and there's just so many things to plan. And we're at the point now, you're never going to be ready. So let's just bring everybody on. Schools are not the same. There's a lot of work done in the summer, but when kids aren't here, teachers aren't here, it's just not the same. And we're ready to get them back, in part because we're excited to see them, maybe in part because we're all tired of seeing each other. I'm kidding. We are excited to have our everybody back in our school community to start school. With our Leader in Me program at the junior high school, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention this, and I brag on this all the time. In short, in a former experience of mine, I had a lot of work with the Franklin Covey organization and was able to be a part of that organization before Leader in Me ever existed, and was afforded opportunities to be able to travel all over the country and visit schools that were doing 7 habits of effective kids before it became the Leader in Me. And you know what I've told Mrs. Poole and Mrs. Lauber, I said, you know, I know things have changed and I haven't done this in a few years, but having had the opportunity to travel to schools all over the country, it was always really well done at the elementary schools and up through intermediate even. I never saw an example, including the schools I worked in, where it worked in the junior high and where it worked in the high school. And I've told them, and I am sincere about it. I know I'm supposed to be biased, but I'm also, I do have experience to back this up, is that what our junior high is doing is truly one of the best programs in the country. You know, Adrian had mentioned about our early childhood program. We had a goal 5 years ago to invest in early childhood, and we are one of the best early childhood programs in the country, what we're able to offer our kids. And so these are just really, really incredible things. And a personal story that I want to share with this leader, me, and how it impacts our kids. And, you know, a rule I have, you know, I'm superintendent, but I'm also a parent too. And a rule I have with my family and my kids specifically, 2 of them are, you know, now out of school, and I've got one here still. We always said, I won't embarrass you and you don't embarrass me. It's a great rule for any parent and kid to have, right? But part of that is it's tough having your dad as the principal and now having your dad as the superintendent. So I'm like, you do your thing, I'll do mine, and we just kind of have our own little lives. So I very rarely, you know, blend those 2 things together, but I think it is appropriate tonight. I believe my son Eli was in the first rocket crew. Is that sophomore class, the first rocket crew? So one of the things that they do that they are very humble about is that the junior high invites past rocket crew kids back to be mentor leaders and to be a part of it. Eli's now a sophomore in high school, on his last week off before football practice and school starting next week. He's been here at Rocket Crew training. He's coming into Rocket Crew tomorrow and couldn't be more excited. And it's one of the things he is most proud about being a student here at Rochester High School. That speaks a lot when you have a sophomore in high school who's really busy and they want to go back and spend time with junior high kids. Because let me tell you, when I was in sophomore in high school, I didn't want any part of junior high kids. And it's just a testament to the culture they create, and those kids want to be a part of that. So I just think, what is it going to look like when these kids grow up through the elementary schools by the time they get to be seniors in high school? It's just going to be really incredible. So credit to our whole team for the work that they did there with all of that. A couple achievements, other achievements I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate some of our academic achievements and the AP scores at the Rochester High School. Here are some really impressive pass rates that we have, and this is a testament to the work of our teachers, our incredibly talented teachers, and our kids, and of course our administrators at the high school. Our English language arts global pass rates were 63.7%. The Illinois pass rate was 65% pass rate. Okay, so that was for English language arts. The global pass rate 63, Illinois 65%. Get ready for this. Rochester High School pass rate, Mr. Reed. 85%.
Yeah.
Mr. Hawkins.
I thought it was 84.4, but.
Oh, yeah, 84.4. You said 85 and I'm like, no.
That was a test.
And
wow.
Mathematics.
So math is dual credit.
Okay. And our history.
100% pass rate.
Yeah.
Not for AP.
Not for AP.
No.
And the state pass rate, you'll have the exact number.
71%, I believe, on state pass rate.
I think it was lower than that. I think it was 66% and ours was 100.
Approximately how many students take that?
So it varies. English was over 100 students took that test, that AP test. History
At
was
about an
lower.
85% pass rate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
And then, but the history, there weren't as many. I think it was in the 40s.
Okay.
That took the history AP, but 100% pass rate. Like I said, I mean.
Yeah.
It's unheard of.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
AP tests are really tough.
No, it's just really, really incredible. And again, it's, you know, we started this meeting off with Mr. Clem here talking about the work that teachers do in the high school. And that's a reflection of what happens in the whole district. And one thing I want to really make sure we emphasize, when we get a high school achievement, our high school is an exemplary high school. We have AP pass rates that are just crushing, you know, the averages. That's not just a high school celebration. That starts when those kids start here in our early childhood and go up. And with the improvements we have made and the continuing growth that we've made, we should only see things go up from there. Now, I will also say education is not a linear business. We will see some ups and downs along the way, but we are more than prepared to adjust to that. I'm going to jump to 2 other spotlights and just reemphasize a couple alumni spotlights of ours. Of course, we had Kate Keller and her artwork that was displayed here. And it was in, you know, it's going to be in the Met. And we, of course, have another proud parent who is moving her to college tonight in Mrs. Keller with that. But, you know, what really stands out to me with this, you know, with Kate's achievement is there were several pieces of art displayed at our Fine Arts Fair that are equally as good. It's not like this is the only piece of artwork that's just outstanding. And that's, again, a testament to talent of our kids, but our art programs that we have and the investments we make in arts and our fine arts across the board at the school. And then on the athletic side, we have a young man who was the National League Rookie of the Month, and Tyler Fitzgerald. You know, and so that's just really, really cool. I believe he was a 2016 alumni, and it was National League Rookie of the Month. And, you know, I was not here clearly when Tyler was in school, but I'm able to be here now and see the talent we have in our kids. And again, it's the same thing with art. It's not just one. We have so many talented kids. And I thought this was a really cool setup in the meeting tonight because it highlights how well we do in academics, in our fine arts, in our athletic programs. And these are just a few examples of many, many, many that we have. So, you know, it's really hard to transition from that to finances and audits, but that's what we're going to do. But I will be brief with that. We had, as you are aware, we switched auditing firms. Our last audit firm was no longer working with school districts. We did an RFP and worked with Cho Sikich. Dr. Kaler, Dr. McGulius, and I met with Lindsay Fish, the principal auditor at Sikich, and we had our entry-level meeting. That was earlier this summer where we looked at the district's financial history. We looked at any current challenges that we have, future plans. We reviewed past audits. Ms. Fish asked about what internal controls we have in place, and then she explained that interviews and reports would be conducted and shared how those would work throughout the process. And we also discussed what the audit timeline would look like. We're going to start that in early September this year because of the transition. We are planning to do a final presentation with Sikich to the board and the AFR in December. Would there be anything you would want to add, Dr. McGulius, Dr. Taylor, about the audit process?
No.
One other thing that's been mentioned here this evening on the district spotlight, and I don't think we can over communicate this enough. As you all pulled in this evening, you saw some construction fencing up. You see things happening with the tennis courts. Traffic flow is going to be, it's going to be an ongoing challenge for us, especially here at the high school. It's a challenge on a day without fences and construction and all of that going on. So we certainly know that's going to be an. Our team at SM Wilson did a great job of working with us in the spring and throughout the summer, helping us and giving us some ideas. And our administration team has really worked hard over the summer to come up with a plan, both at the junior high and high school. One thing I do want to stress is for everybody in the room, I've heard a few themes tonight, but it's going to be adaptability, because what we think works today, next week may not work. And so we're going to keep putting things out, and we just ask for a lot of grace and patience as we go through this spring. But we did, I believe this is going out, did it go out today or is it going out tomorrow?
This morning.
Went out this morning. So this is a video that was created to help educate and communicate what we need people to do to start school. So Mr. Hanson, if you will.
think they're going too fast.
Thank you. The video, I have a question. We all know Walnut is not the best paved road in the county. As an understatement, I'm sure you've worked with the Rochester Police Department and anyone else who needs to just support and help as we all adjust.
Yeah, and Officer Burnley's been involved in that too, and we've done as much as we can. I
Yeah.
mean, it's going to be tough. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. I mean,
Yeah.
Whenever we start and, especially I like to remind people, even in the best of circumstances, parent drivers, student drivers, and school buses all at the same time after a few months, things are always a little congested, and it takes until Labor Day for things to settle out, but it does settle out once people start learning routines and plans. And again, we may have to communicate a little bit more and adjust and move with this plan. That looks great today, but that's Mrs. Shaw, one vehicle. I had to out you, Mrs. Shaw. Mrs. Shaw in one vehicle driving through there versus whenever we have several hundred at one time driving through. And to close here this evening.
Quick question on that.
Yes.
Before you go on. So when it changes directions automatically at 2 o'clock, are we gonna have any signage or anything? Okay.
We're working on arrows and also signage and boots on the ground as well.
Okay.
Because all of that only goes so far. So I know our teams, and one thing that we didn't include this evening, but we are going to be putting out as well, still working on. Mrs. Poole and Mr. Lauber have developed a plan to move all the junior high traffic to the front of the school. And they've developed some communications very similar that they're going to be sharing to or have already shared. I'm not sure.
So ours, what do you?
With the progress.
Tomorrow. Rocket Man had to get prepared.
I think Rocket Man's making a cameo in there.
I'm gonna send out a map tonight for seventh grade parents only for rocket launch, so that we can kind of try it, see how it goes, and then we have some other ideas and works that we'll unveil later.
So, and we've got some contingencies too, knowing that people won't know what exactly to do the first day. So Mr. Reed has a good plan for a few contingencies, especially on 29 at the end of the day, because we know people are going to forget. They're so used to turning in here at the end of the day. They're going to do it and they're just going to forget. So he's got a few plans there to help with that. And so.
Okay.
Wish us luck.
Yeah, good luck.
I do want to close this report, with recognizing the work that happened in the summer. I really can't overstate enough, but also thinking of the work that happens throughout the district and throughout all of our employee classes in the summertime. And you've seen a lot of the things with the administrators, but we could not do this without the support staff that's here in the summertime. Our secretaries, our custodians, our maintenance crew, our books, our bus drivers, all the things they do to start and prepare the school year. They work incredibly hard, and it's quite the stressful time, but it's also a pretty dynamic time for them with all of the things that happen here. I also want to share some appreciation for our teachers on this as well. Our teachers here tonight and at home that are listening at home, they do a lot of work in the summertime in terms of preparing for the next school year. They do learning, they take classes, they're getting ready. The other piece is they start showing up. Some of them, especially our elementary teachers, show up months ahead of time. It feels like we shut down and a week later they're back. But throughout the district, our high school, people have been in these classrooms for several weeks now, getting ready to make sure our students have a good experience and are welcome back to school and have the best experience possible. And that's what we've asked all of our staff to do, is connect, engage, and build relationships with our kids those first few days of school. You've seen incredible examples tonight, and I will close it because I just got time checked by Dr.
There's a lot of talking and reporting tonight, so I just want to make sure we can kind of keep on track for a reasonable board meeting. But I want to pause here because we just finished director and administrator reports. Before we move into old business,
Are there any questions or comments from the board for any of our administrators or directors or superintendent?
Just comment to thank them for all of it, especially with all the construction stuff. A lot.
Yep.
Everyone, I'm sure will be excited to see kids.
Yeah.
Well, and all the hiring. There was a lot of work that went into that this summer too.
Okay, we'll move on then. For old business, we have Mrs. Reynolds, you're our liaison for CACC. So will you please give us an update on how?
Yeah, this is old. This was back in June. Dan
Yeah.
was actually at the meeting too. I just wrote some highlights that I wanted to share. There are 3 new programs at CACC for this upcoming school year, 24 to 2025. They are now offering the Sangamon CEO program out there at CACC. They have a new barber program to go off, there's the cosmetology and hair salon, and now there's barber to go with that. And they have a new one called Rapid Prototyping that is actually a cooperation with UIS. I had to ask what that is. And it's kind of a thing where students are given some instructions and have to invent something, was how it was explained to me in a nutshell. But it sounded really cool compared to what the name Rapid Prototyping sounded boring. But when they described it, I'm like, well, that sounds fascinating. Almost all the programs, not just the new ones, almost all of the programs as of June were already waitlisted. Their enrollment has gone up so high. CACC has become that popular. The CASPN, which is the adult nursing program, is still thriving. And this is the second year in a row they have used our facilities for their graduation. The welding program was awarded $24,000 in grant money to get all new equipment. They are looking at security improvements similar to what we have done over the last couple of years, where you have to badge in and have a more secure entrance, that kind of thing. And then 2 things that not necessarily highlights, but basically there's free dual credit with LLCC in a lot of these programs, and roughly only 1/3 of students take advantage of it. So they're thinking they've got to find a better way to communicate that that's an option since it's free and you can get some college credit. Yeah. And then the last one for the 2023-24 school year, they had 48 students fail. But here's the catch. Of those 48 students, 8 of them missed 6 to 18 days for the whole school year. The other 40 missed between 22 and 90 days. If you're not there, it's kind of hard to pass. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, you're all in education, but I wanted to point it out anyway. So it sounds like if you're there, you're doing pretty good. Great.
One brief addition to that, over the past 4 years now, we have worked on redefining ready and what that looks like and building career pathways for our kids, no matter what career they choose, whether it takes college, military, junior college, trade school, so on and so forth. And Mr. Hawkins has been a huge part of that, and working in there, and our teachers as well. I don't know if every teacher in our high school has had the opportunity to visit schools throughout the region and the country, but a large majority of our teachers have been able to go visit and really incorporate what they're learning in there. And as a result of that, we're seeing great things happen here at Rochester, but we're also seeing a huge interest in the CACC programs from students. In the past, it was traditionally kids who really weren't college bound were looking at going out there, but now our college bound students are looking at going to CACC as well. And I mean, Mr. Hawkins, is there anything I know you work very closely with that you want to add about the numbers or the
Our
interest?
numbers, we're up about 30 kids this year.
Yeah.
Over last year, we're at like 82 right now, which is a big jump. Part of that's changing it to a 5-weight, recognizing the difficulty of some of those courses out there. And like you said, a lot of them are dual credit already, so they're college credit courses. And so we're bringing it up on par with our other college credit courses. So we've seen a massive jump in interest, and our counselors have done an amazing job of getting those kids enrolled because they're so competitive. Many of those programs, if you do not apply for that program on day one, you're going to get waitlisted and you're not going to get in it. Whereas as of right now, all of our kids got in the programs that they wanted because our counselors do such a good job of getting those requests in as soon as possible.
We're doing a lot of work to change the perception of CACC. This is not a dirty facility for dirty jobs. This is for high-tech, high-paying, well-paid jobs that some take 4 years degrees, some take trade school. And the other little known fact I didn't even know till I had moved here, Our Capital Area Career Center is the largest career center in the state of Illinois and one of the top quality programs that kids will have access to. So it's a really incredible thing. That's something we want to make sure we educate our parents on too, because sometimes there's a perception among these types of programs and trades programs that they're not for everybody and that they're dirty jobs, and it's the farthest thing from the truth.
So, and CACC has been decades in the works, you know, it has been here. I don't know officially when it began, but back in the 80s, it was in operation. So I don't know how long before that. And sure, it did start off with some technical things and maybe for students who weren't looking at college as a career. And still has that for anybody who wants to be licensed, for somebody who wants college credits, for somebody who wants to test out a career before they go into it, or get some credits leading into college so that they don't have to take these intro courses in their programs. There is such a variety of programs at CACC now that I'm just so proud that it's that our students get to be part of it. So when you look at our high school students and you look at CACC, you look at the College Now options, and you look at what our AP scores are right now. I mean, our college students and our guidance counselors and our administrators there and our teachers are really working to help students hone in on what's right for them, because there has to be something right for everybody. And that's always been our goal. And I think that's what shows in these great variety of choices that we have for our students right now, you know?
Our staff was able to go out to CACC last year, we took a field trip out there, and they were able to do some of the things that they did, and it was so uplifting for a lot of them. Even Mr. Hawkins' wife put together a wonderful presentation to share with kids and opportunities and things that are out there. And it was well done, but they really enjoyed it, but the kids really want us out there. That was the big thing. So we're gonna try to make a concerted effort to make sure we get out and see our kids in action out there, because it's important to them. It's like you said, it's taken off. More of our kids are going out there, and we need to go out and see them. So
Yeah.
And to tag on to what Dan was saying about the impressiveness of CACC, in a lot of those trade programs out there, they have competitions they go to that are statewide or even nationwide. And a lot of the CACC students have success at these competitions. It's impressive.
And I think too, you know, for some students, it's the change of environment that really helps them. You know, having their half day here and then a half day at CACC or at Lincoln Land with our options. So that really helps a lot of students too. So, all right, thank you. Thanks for putting that on the agenda, Amy, for us to talk about. Okay, we are going into more talking. This time it's about construction with SM Wilson. We have Greg here for an update on our tennis court project, which will lead into an update and overview of the bid opening and timeline for next steps on the construction project. Greg with
And
Mr.
Bernie,
Cox.
looks like Bernie, you do this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Welcome, Bernie.
I'll be the one probably giving the construction updates.
Great, perfect.
Tennis upgrade, update. I will say, as a person that really values and understands the significance of a site logistics, I love the video. Good job driving the car. I will say that I do appreciate that, because communicating those logistic plans are vitally important. I know that flow, so I'm happy to see that. I know that if anything comes up, please let me know when we're here with you to try to make sure that flows pretty good. So onto the tennis courts. Today we did have a significant milestone. We got the first course of asphalt down. Tomorrow we'll finish the second coat. So there's two layers of asphalt that go down before the acrylic. Acrylic's just the pretty stuff that has all the lines and stuff on that. So today's significant. Getting that down. Tomorrow's good. We do have a cure time of 2 weeks that we need before we put the acrylic down. But right now, this is a significant relief for us as far as the weather. So we've had some rains here, and now that we've got that covered, we're in pretty good shape. So looking forward to the next month. We will be we got the asphalt down. They'll finish up tomorrow. 2-week cure time starts tomorrow. That puts us in around the 22nd of August when we can start putting the acrylic. In the meantime, as we're flowing through that, they are going to start finishing up the concrete curb on the south side, which we needed for access for the dump trucks to get in to install the asphalt. Put that in there. We do have a drain to try to get rid of, get the water away from that as much as possible. Finish that up, and they'll be putting the fence on. So in 2 weeks, when they do start the acrylic, we should be in great shape as far as the fence and everything around to complete the tennis court system there.
And then there will be about a 3-week time frame to put that acrylic down. So there's some colors on there, there's some neat stuff that's there, but it does take some time as they're putting the different colors on and the different lines and that sort to get ready for play. We are looking at trying to, do everything we can to improve that. We are having some conversations. Unfortunately, I can't promise anything right now, but we are trying to take a look at trying to improve upon that. So right now, I think what we're shooting for is being complete and done, ready by the 13th of September. So that's what we're shooting for. So,
Great.
anybody have questions?
There have been a few hiccups with the timing of it. Have we identified the causes and are we confident that we won't have any more hiccups as we move forward with those tennis courts because we have games and people intending to use them?
Yeah, so the path to get here today is not what we envisioned, and I will be upfront with that, and that falls on me, and I accept that. And we are watching very closely. That's why we're having some more discussions about improving upon that if there's any opportunities. So we are not stopping with trying to improve that. So I think that's what we're trying to do. We have more eyes here. We have a gentleman that stops by every day to make sure that he's reporting what's going on here so that we can have some discussions about what we need to do to overcome this challenge. So yes, I appreciate that we're not relaxing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You implement any kind of project management through all of this?
Yeah, so Adam is our project manager, and so he's on the day-to-day. We have a superintendent that will stop by in the mornings. He was here this morning to let us know that we had asphalt, because I had driven here yesterday to take a look, and we did not, and so I'd asked him to stop by before I lose patience. So he's here, he's gonna continue to be here and report to us as we go down through that. So we do have me stopping by periodically to make sure things are going. Adam's there from a day-to-day and having conversations with all the individuals trying to put the work in, and then we have another individual that stopped by just to make sure if there's any way we can help kind of keep things going.
Yeah, a highly detailed project management schedule is hard to beat.
Yeah.
I mean, and then I'd like to see you pass it out to the board members here so we can see on a day-to-day basis what's going on, what's expected.
Okay.
Is that possible?
We do have a schedule. I don't know that it is updated daily, but we do update a schedule. I think as we move forward with the bids and with the recommendations that we have, we do have a schedule that we will be providing. It includes the tennis courts and the rest of the construction with logistic plans and all that to try to pull in everything as far as the overall plan.
I mean, it gives everybody an opportunity to see what they're facing coming up and then how to get there. And if they miss something, they can pick up on it.
And we'll be working closely with Dan and Chris and everybody to make sure that whatever we need to tweak with that, we're on that quickly.
Thank you.
And it would bounce off your design work. Should be able to do that as well.
Correct.
Okay. Moving on from the tennis courts, we'll look at an overview of the bid opening and timeline for next steps on the construction project, which kind of follows in line with what you're asking.
Now we have.
Looking at that schedule. What we're doing now.
Greg, thanks again for allowing us to speak today. We took proposals 30th of July for the remainder of the project. We call it the package 2. We had actually the whole room was full of subcontractors and design members. So Dan and Chris, we had a really well attended bid opening, and from then until August 14th, we will be finalizing our recommendations to the board. We have some meetings set up in the next week or so with Dan and with Chris, and then I think we're still workshopping a building committee meeting as well to review all those items individually. We intend to make our recommendations for all those at the August 21st. At a high level, does everybody remember what we were at budget-wise in June? did you present CD? 25, we were over 25, but with all the alternates and, we were the mid 28.5, 24.5, at a, we're consistent with that budget with all of the alternates, as they reevaluate. The high level update for where we're. Any comments or questions?
Did you have a creator for your project management schedule? You have a software program for it?
Yes, we do. A power project.
It's what?
It's a power project, it's a
Power Project is the name of it?
so it's very similar, it's not as robust as Primavera 6, but it's based on the same sort of logic and platform.
Yeah, we work with stuff like that quite a bit. In fact, that's where multitasking came into be a reality. It's amazing what you can do with it. Absolutely amazing.
Okay.
One thing I would like to add, now that we've started into construction, one of the reasons we hired SM Wilson was you had highlighted ways that you could integrate with the students, providing programs, like piggybacking off of CACC and all the different ways we can get kids involved in trades. And I wanted to see if you guys had talked yet about, or have a plan yet on how you're gonna try and implement that.
So so the CACC, I was very interested. I didn't want to, take up a bunch of time since we're doing this time, but we would love to be part of that. I know that on the other CACCs, they've had like a construction curriculum, and we've done things where we've come in and had conversations, we bring tradespeople in, we've done some things. We've also done where we can bring students out, and since we're doing construction here, and this is their home, we can use that as ability to watch the build and bring them out there to tour and do any of those kind of things. So we would be more than happy to get involved in any of that, just let us know. And we can sit down and kind of tailor what that would look like.
And I think it's not, us getting you involved, it's you getting yourselves involved. I think that's what we were anticipating.
Yeah, so
And
I
so
probably
we'd really like you to,
If you wanna sit down.
yeah, feel free to sit down with the administrators and hash a plan out and get these kids out there and show them, what they can be doing.
Yeah,
For a
absolutely.
career or whatever.
We're all about the trades.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yep.
One thing I will, Bernie and Greg, just for your information too, and I don't want to get the cart ahead of the horse. I know we have some evaluations to go through, reviews and approvals before that's done, but if things go as expected and hope, one of the companies we have students who works for as well. Yeah, we have students here at school that works for one of the potential companies, which would be really cool. For them to be able to come out on site and see that. So we'll, whenever the time's appropriate, we'll let you know about that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all we have.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have a discussion of NCL government capital lease agreement. And I just want to say that at the beginning of this project, when the board was talking about this with Mr. Cox and admin and building a team, we had some expectations as we went in. And one of those was the guiding question, is it bold enough? Remember that from a while ago now, but is it bold enough? And that was the question that we posed like early on, and we keep coming back to that question when we were looking at designs for our projects and everything. So being creative, is it bold enough, and looking at all options. All options are on the table, bring them to us. If it's not something we want, we'll, toss that out, but we'll keep watching for options as we go through this project, which is what you've done. And Dr. Kaler and Mr. Cox has found an interesting route to try to fund some of these projects for us. So I'm gonna have you share this with everyone.
So, you hit the nail on the head, Dr. Margulies, is, when we're looking at a project, this is something that's going to be really serve our kids well, not just for today, but for the future, for foreseeable years. Is it bold enough? The other piece is, let's be creative. Let's look at every option. Let's think outside of the box. And we have done that. And we've got one for you here tonight that we didn't know existed, but we did learn about this last year. It was last fall. Dr. Kale and I were able to attend the AASA summit on school facilities. and really how to maximize our Sourcewell cooperative. We are a Sourcewell member, and how to maximize that cooperative. And one of the things we learned about at that time was a financing mechanism for school districts to fund small projects. Typically with school districts, what we've known is we have two ways to fund our projects. We fund them with just our day-to-day operational funds, and you do them very small at a time, and more often than not, you sell bonds. An example would be, in previous experience I needed to replace $1 million worth of roofs. That sounds like a lot of money, but it's really not a lot of money. But my school district was not able to do that. We just couldn't pay $1 million. So we had to go sell bonds and do $1 million worth of roofs. I'm sure Mr. Hannah's seen that a lot in his profession with school districts doing that. In contrast, when you go to the private sector, private businesses are able to use lease purchase agreements to purchase large equipment, do small scale projects, purchase copy machines, things of that nature. Well, there's an option that exists for that for school districts, and it's called a government capital lease agreement. It's available to municipalities, and it's also available to public school districts. It does have to be competitively bid, which is where the Sourcewell cooperative comes in, because they can competitively bid these purchasing agreements and lease agreements. And that's when we first learned about the NCL government capital lease agreement. We're just presenting this for information this evening because we still have work to do on our end to see how it works, see what the rates are, and see if it fits us. But so far the work we've done, it looks favorable, but we still have some work to do. And what this lease agreement would do would allow us to do a small scale project. And instead of using public tax dollars and our bonding funds to do that, we can use our day-to-day operational funds to pay for part or all of that project. For an example, what this lease would look like, we would be looking at taking our scoreboard, our lighting, and our sound of this project and putting into the capital lease agreement. That's going to be in the neighborhood of $1.1 to $1.2 million. And we would put that in the lease agreement. The lease agreement would be 4 to 5 years. Interest rates would be similar. I won't say they will be higher or lower, but they will be very similar to what you would see in the bonded interest rate. And there would be no fees with that. So when you sell bonds, you have to pay fees. So there are no fees in the capital lease agreement, but you're still paying some interest. This would be for a 4-year or a 5-year agreement, and then it would be paid. The revenue streams we would be looking at to pay for that would be our sales tax funds, the public sales tax dollars, any general operating funds, which is probably unlikely because we have saved funds in that Fund 60 to be able to do, but you can use your operating funds out of your operation and maintenance fund, and then future advertising dollars. We're not ready to commit what amount of advertising dollars that we would be able to use, but we've already been working on advertising with the new scoreboards and advertising with the project, and the initial input we're getting is very favorable. And I'll just leave it at that, and hopefully we have great information for you at a future board meeting. But I did want to put this out here for you for information. I included information in your packet to consider and look at, and any questions you would have now, but also we will be looking at this again before any action or recommendations would be brought to the board. If this would work like we think it will work, it would almost certainly allow us to be able to do all the alternate options in the project.
That's great. That'd be great. Any questions from the board?
I guess the only question I have, and I think I know the answer, is you're not necessarily bidding through Sourcewell, you're using them more as a purchasing agent, right? Because I know we're working with scoreboard people and different things that allow us to keep the cost lower than Sourcewell normally is.
The lease itself, actually, to be able to do the lease and work with these people has to be bid. So it's bidding the service, the financial service. So NCL is an actual company. So you have to just like whenever we bond, we don't have to bid that, but we do have to go out and, are you going to work with First Mid-State? Are you going to work with Stiefel? Are you, all of those different companies that you do. This process, you do have to bid it, or you have to go through the way it's been publicly bid. And Illinois law allows Sourcewell to do that on behalf of school districts, which saves us a lot of money to be able to do.
You're not using Sourcewell for the materials, you're using it for the lease itself.
You are correct. It's just for the lease. Good question.
Anything else?
Anything else?
One thing I wanted to bring up, when Dan was talking about that number, 1.2 million, that's looking at all of the scoreboards around. That is not just the football field. So we're looking at making improvements and touching all of our different athletic facilities, including the rack. So that's all of that included, which will then free up money for the alternate bids that we found.
I hope that works out.
How does that work with, I know we had funds that were dedicated to this program. Is that, how would that work?
So they,
Come off the top?
yeah, yes. That would be the same as the advertising dollars.
But would you lease for the full amount and then use those funds that are currently being held as payment towards that lease, or would you reduce the lease amount so we're not paying it?
I don't know. That's a good question. We would probably reduce the lease amount, is what we'd be able to do on that, because the funds we had in donations are pretty sizable.
Okay. I think we're ready to move on to the next topic, which is an update on the elementary 2-3 HVAC upgrade project.
We put out bids for the upgrade of the DX unit at the Q3 building. This is something we talked about in spring. We had 2 responsive bids. We will be bringing back a recommendation at the August 1st meeting. The lead time on this is going to be put us doing probably winter or early spring work to get this done, but it will be ready before next spring, before it gets hot. This is one of 3 large units. We know that they're coming to the end of the lifespan. It's going to be something we're probably going to be doing as a cycle moving forward.
Do they have air conditioning issues?
They're band-aiding them together, making them work, but it's something that we do need to address sooner rather than later.
I feel like we're always talking about chillers.
That happens at big facilities.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see, discussion of the Great Places to Work certification. I know Mr. Cox and Mr. Hanson are looking at this.
So this ties in with several years worth of work, and a lot of ongoing discussions as well. Dating back to when Mrs. Flynn was in her teaching role, we worked on creating conditions for employees to thrive. We looked at a lot of morale and teacher morale type of things, and ongoing. And Kevin's been involved in a lot of these conversations as well. We've heard great things from our teachers and about our teachers this evening. You saw some great testimony and videos about what's happening in our schools, but we don't want to stop. And when we talk to our teachers, when we hear back from our teachers, it always comes back to recognition of value and time and resources, and also wanting input in such a way that they can do it candidly and honestly and even anonymously, where they feel more comfortable doing that. So we're always looking for ways to be able to do that. In a online cohort that Mr. Hanson and I participated in last year to help him transition into his new career, and was on communications, and some of the school districts that we talked to in that cohort. One of the things that they had done to improve the conditions and also communication within their school district was to apply for the Great Places to Work certification. This is typically done for private industry. This is a private industry award that's done, but public schools are starting to get into this. And the one attractive thing, or there's 2 really attractive things about the Great Places to Work certification. It's not easy to get. I'm going to prepare everybody. I'm not sure we'll get it the first time around, but what it will do is identify areas that we can improve on that came directly from the voices from our staff. It's also listening to our staff by giving them another tool to be able to use that we don't see this at all. It goes straight to Great Places to Work. And then they give us the feedback report and says, here's what your people are telling you, and these are areas that you can work on to improve. And if you do get that certification, it doesn't mean you've arrived and the work is done. There's still plenty of work to do when you do that. The 2 things that it does, it's certainly a great tool for recruitment and retention of not just teachers, but staff across the district. It shows that we are listening, we do care, and we are putting things into place for our staff. But the second piece of that too is it's valuing the staff that are here, because it's not just about recruitment, it's also retention too, because we want to continue to do both. And we've talked often about, yes, we love the amount of teachers we're able to attract, but also retain here at school, but we don't want to rest on those laurels and continue to grow on that. So I put that in there for information for the board and any questions that you would have, and we'll bring that back in the future for action as well. Yes, Mr. Hanson, is there anything you want to add on this piece of it? I don't remember what that is off the top of my head. It may be in some of the supplemental documents.
If it's a single year, but to get the analysis and it's 11,000. If you do multiple years, it's less.
Correct, yeah. So it depends. They've given us 2 proposals. One gives us more insight, more tools, more accessibility into the data that's gathered through their company. The other one is just very much, here's the results, and there's not a lot of the analytical tools. So there's two options that we can weigh between those. But that is correct. One of the options is a little bit more than the other one, but they do give you a price break if you do a 2-year contract with them. They give you, I think it's about a $500 price break on that, which I think would recommend on the basis that this is an ongoing thing. We want to continue to develop our workplace. We want this to be a desirable place to work. We know that right off the bat, we may not be able to obtain that certificate, but that will then give us that roadmap to enable us to then the next year at a discounted price, have that evaluation go through again, and then potentially after following the roadmap that they give us, maybe then qualify for that certification at a discounted price compared to what it would be if we just played 1 year by 1 year.
I think the biggest difference between this and what we do, we already do this work. We already have data report on this that shows we do this type of work. The difference between this and what we already do, and I think you can do both and should do both, is that this is conducted by an independent party and you've got a certification that shows that, hey, this isn't just us saying this. It's not just, an administrator, a superintendent, a board member saying that these things are happening. This is also an independent service that is what they do, and they do it for organizations across the, across workforces, not just education.
The other great thing about the certification as well is that if we do get certified, they give us a branding kit. So this goes on our job postings, it goes on our website, it goes on our emails, it goes on all these things. But that also then automatically enables us to be entered into other verification programs and receive other certifications and become maybe the best 100 school districts in the country to work for or in the world to work for. It goes to another level. They take all of their recipients and submit them into these other certification processes. And so thereby, when we do get certified, there is potential for us to then be say, hey, not only are they certified by Great Places to Work, but also these other companies are also certifying them based off of the findings from this work that's been done by Great Places to Work.
Did they share the average? I know you said it's unlikely the first year, the average of how many years until you see that environmental change to get that 7 out of 10 that's required for the certification?
I do not know that, Mr. Hanson. Would you know? We do not know that. We could ask.
Not
We
that
hope
it's
to
a-
get it the first
Not
time.
that it's a speed record to get there, but to see the changes is, the outcome's the important part, not. But I just wondered if they had any information on how.
Based on the initial work, we do know it's difficult. Like it's not a lollipop and a badge. Yeah, it's not a lollipop and a badge. It's
It
what
would
we
mean
look at. It's
anything
like,
if they handed them out.
yeah, it's like, okay, this is gonna take some work.
So you mentioned the kind of the private sector thing. I've seen the private sector. Is there within the surveys and questions, is there an educational focus? Because I mean, they ask what I do and ask me, that's gonna look different than how it impacts the teacher. That wouldn't be any, that's a helpful if I'm asking private sector questionnaire.
Correct.
To be impactful to the teacher.
Absolutely, that's definitely, they have a set survey, but that is adaptable based on the company. I mean, we're looking at the school district as a company, and so we want to reach educators. We're going to ask them different questions than we would if I was in television still. And so absolutely that survey, we work with our representative to then customize that survey so that it speaks the language of education as opposed to speaking the language of architecture or television. It's going to be applicable to our staff and what matters to our staff. So that way it's not just well, this doesn't even apply to us. No, it will be very specific to their working conditions and what they're experiencing.
And they've been working with school districts. It's not been a widespread thing yet, but they've been working with school districts throughout the country, and it's a growing area that they have.
I know there was some example questions when we have additional information. Can there be some other sample set of questions that would be applicable to the school districts?
I'll absolutely reach out to our representative to ask her for those and get those to us as quickly as I can.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on. So we have in your board packet first reading of an updated and revised library collection development procedure. This is standard practice, something we've done for many years. It's
well written out in your packet. Mr. Cox, is there anything you want to add to that?
The one thing I would add, this is something we've had in place well before I was here, when Sarah Luttrell was the Director of Media Services. This is something that was developed in the district. It's been several years since it's been reviewed. And so whenever Mrs. Newton came to the district, that was one of the charges that we gave her. And she worked directly with Mrs. Keller and our curriculum council to review this procedure and make updates to it. And because it's been quite some time since there's been any review, my recommendation was to put it in front of the board for you all to take a look at that and then bring it back next month and approve it unless there's any questions. From this year moving forward, it would be something I would recommend we put on a 3-year review cycle and either put it as a consent agenda item if there's no major changes, but if there are major changes, then we would move it into a first and second reading.
And that would be September, not our next August meeting. Yeah.
Probably.
Okay. Okay, no questions? Okay, so we also have first reading of updated and revised Rochester Technology Responsible Use Policy.
Similar theme here. It's been several years since our responsible use technology had been reviewed. And Mrs. Flynn and the tech team has worked very hard on that. And I would say there's been a significant number of changes and updates. That would be fair, Mrs. Flynn, just going short of saying it's a complete overhaul, but it was pretty significant, the changes we made. I'd asked Mrs. Flynn to highlight and redline all the changes. And she's like, I'm like, never mind. Just know this is a significantly new document, which is why it's in front of you again. One of the pieces that I want to stress to the board in this document, it's going to be the same adoption procedure here as the last. But we did put a section in artificial intelligence. I'm going to asterisk that and please know that anything that we do with artificial intelligence will be updated multiple times throughout the year. This, as soon as we put it down in print, it's going to change and evolve, but it's better to have something down and know that we're going to be adaptable and nimble with that. So that's going to be the one piece of that plan that will change before the school year's out. The rest of it should be pretty rock solid on that. We are working to get this one approved at the next August board meeting because we do need to get some student and staff approvals for this plan. One of the things that does need to happen though, because there were so many changes to this, I am having this reviewed by legal counsel. So I want to make sure we get that review back because it was pretty significant changes. And we all know just the importance of the responsible use of technology within a school district by both staff and students.
Okay, thank you. So expect that one in 2 weeks to read again. Okay. Next, we have the first reading of the Rochester School District calendar for the 25-26 academic year. It's a very basic, you can see your first day of attendance, last day of attendance, the major breaks in there, and then it'll be fleshed out in the next month or so.
I want to thank our teachers do a lot of work on this. It's really important to our teachers and administrators how the calendar flows. They do the work on this. And I was smiling because I don't remember if it was way back to Sarah Luttrell, if it was Cheryl Flynn that said, can we start working on the calendar and get them 2 years in advance? And a lot of our families wanted that. And I was always hesitant to do it. And I think Kevin and Chrissy brought the baton home, and like they finally broke me down, and Dr. McGulius was working on me. I'm like, okay, I will say it always makes me nervous to go that far in advance because so many things can change. But then I thought back over my career, school always starts around the same time and it's the start and the end. So let's just roll with it because it really is important to families to be able to plan out in advance. So you get a taste of what this looks like in the next month. We'll bring this back and we'll have the 25-26 school year planned almost a year in advance. And again, thank you for the work that you guys do because it sounds easy, but it's not, because a lot of people have a lot of opinions how that calendar is supposed to look. So thank you for the work that you do.
Okay, next we have first reading of updates and revisions to the Board of Education policies. Those are placed in your packet for first reading for review, and the second reading will take place during our regular September board meeting.
These are all just the ones that we have to change.
These are the routine press
Yes,
update. Yes, Mrs. Reynolds.
The-
There will probably be some options in there, but
Yeah, so the press again is the policy reference education subscription service that we use that dictates what we have to change according to new laws and policies. So, okay,
Just quick, I know we have everything sort of working online. version of that?
I'm glad you brought that up. You can go online. Mrs. Seaton gets the gold star here. She's got that all set up. Our board policies are all up to date. They're editable, and not only are they editable, they're searchable. Editable. They're searchable, so you can go in and keyword search, you know, student discipline, for example, and it'll give you every policy that's related to student discipline. So that's on the homepage of our website. I've missed a reading while we're working on some stuff yesterday. I think I used it 3 times before 9 o'clock yesterday. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's really helpful. Okay, then we move on to closed session. Is there a motion to enter closed session for the purposes of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, and litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent.
I'll make that motion before he can ask you to repeat it.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Reynolds,
Yes.
Mr. Farley,
Yes.
Mr. Hannah,
Yes.
Mr.
Thank you.
Cool,
Yeah.
Mrs. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Child,
Yes.
Dr. Rubelius.
Yes. Thanks, everyone, for hanging with us through a report-heavy board meeting. We'll move into closed session